Good morning from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. The time is 11:49 a.m. on the 1st of November 2025. Little Indian minor bird just had a swim in the bird bath. Lovely. It's scathing hot. The Bureau of Meteorology, that invariably scaremongers or can't even get things right, has predicted tornadoes today. And so it remains to be seen if they get that right or not. But I'm highly suspicious of anything our government puts out, especially at this time of year. They like to indulge in scaremongering. So if it happens and I'm wrong, but it is very humid and there is a kind of a weird stillness in the air which tells me that storms are on the way. And so I'm not saying it's definitely not happening, but yeah, the storm they predicted the other day was very, very minimal and almost laughable. It's barely got any rain, so I have zero trust in our governmental, capital MENTAL, scientists anymore. Post-COVID, it's all been a bit mad, really. So let us continue on with part 4 of 7 types of ambiguity. A whole other kind of ambiguity, like not being able to predict the weather properly. We need a farmer's almanac and, people who live in harmony with our earth to start predicting the weather for us. Farmers and sailors, usually more attuned than our scientists are, by all the gods. Well, we've had a lovely few days, few weeks, so I'm just going to keep riding through life as I do. Shotgun with my gods, one day at a time, sweet Moses. But worried about being out in the bright sun because sun cancer. Trying to decide whether I move us into the shade. There's not a lot of shade, but the shade is moving over this way favourably, so I guess I'll be right for a few minutes. Right, Chapter 1, Part 4. Picture a flat grey field in a wilderness somewhere, anywhere, on an overcast day, where once there was vegetation, lengths of brightly coloured cloth attached vertically and horizontally to wooden poles to form crude but eye-catchingly vivid shelters, now flap in the wind. Some of the people who struggle to live around there have been told about the colourful tents in the field, and they tell the others until before long everyone has come to see what has grown inexplicably out of the dust that barely feeds them most months of their years. As the wind howls, the doors to the tents dance this way and that, inviting the people to hide from the dust that blows in their faces. And to delight in all the fun of the fair. What activity here this morning on a Saturday morning, it's odd. Well, 2 men, A and B, for a small sum each, are permitted to compete against each other in a game of ball. They each have to get the ball into a hole. The first to do it 6 times wins. Call it pala. Why pala? That's Italian for ball. Are they Italian? Why do they speak Italian? I'm getting to that. I thought you weren't meant to interrupt. I'm sorry. Please continue. The first one to win 6 rounds wins the game and a prize, but the game is stopped prematurely. Someone's crops are on fire and A and B are required to help put it out. By the time they get back to the fair and to their game, the tents are being disassembled. The fair is moving to the next town. At the time the game was stopped, A had won 5 rounds and B had won 3. They want to continue the game, but the fairground attendant won't let them. He's got to pack up and keep moving. If he falls behind, he's no longer part of the fair. He's just a man with sticks, coloured fabric, and some balls. But A and B and even the people who had been watching them play in the tent before the fire are outraged. They feel somehow that they've been cheated. Well, the fairground attendant, as is the wont of all good fairground attendants, can see where this is heading. In order to escape with his life, liberty, posts, flapping coloured strips and balls, he gives the 2 of them the prize money, which the first to have won 6 rounds would have been entitled to had the game continued without interruption. They look at the money and complain to the fairground attendant. That's the prize for only one of us, whereupon the fairground attendant tells them they are fortunate to even get that, which you might say they were. Remember, neither of them had actually won. It was only through a not-so-veiled threat that they got anything at all. Whose fault is it that there was a fire anyway? The fairground attendant asked. Well, it was probably a mistake asking these questions, because it led the assembled folk to consider for the first time who it might be that was indeed responsible for the fire. They thought back to the way they had been distracted from their work by these strangers who had come from some far-off place to take their money, and who they could see hastily packing up and preparing to move off as soon as the fire had been put out. Here's your money, said the fairground attendant. You divide it between the 2 of you. Make sure you do it fairly according to who you think was going to win. Don't go fighting amongst yourselves. And with that he was gone, leaving them to determine how the winnings should be divided. It's very hot in the garden, boys. We might have to give in and go back inside. Yes. The Kermie's quite happily sitting out here eating, and Bo's listening to the story. Why do you give the game an Italian name? Because the question of how to divide the stakes in an uncompleted game, the whole matter of the quantification of probability, was first taken seriously by an Italian. In the 15th century, the Franciscan monk and mathematician Luca Pacioli, I think it's pronounced that way, 2 C's, is it Chi or Che? Pacioli? I don't know. I don't speak Italian. Posed this problem of predicting the probable result of a game of ball played by A and B. First to win 6 rounds wins the game. If the game is stopped prematurely when A has won 5 rounds and B 3. Pacioli was a friend and contemporary of Leonardo da Vinci. Some say he helped Leonardo with perspective. Everybody needs help with perspective from time to time, right? Is this what you were going to say? No, I was going to ask whether Pacioli was able to solve the problem he'd posed. No, not even Cardano could do that. Who was Cardano? He was slightly later 16th century Italian mathematician. His Ars Magna is one of the classics of Renaissance mathematics. What makes you interested in these people? I had a teacher when I was about 15 who told me about these men. It was he who was responsible for my interest in probability. He used to humanize mathematics for us. I haven't thought about him for years. He died before I finished school. Anyway, Cardano attempted what was possibly the first systematic study of probability. He was a gambler. He was a gambler's gambler. He gambled every day. Dice, cards, chess, anything. He recommended it for the relief of anxiety and grief, even though he concluded, somewhat paradoxically, I would say, that the greatest advantage from gambling comes from not playing at all. The only way to win a game is not to play. Is that why you've come to see me? Is it about your gambling? Oh, you see, I thought he was talking to Anna, to Angelique. So it shouldn't have been a feminine voice this whole time, but oops, sorry. I came to see you for many reasons. You needed someone to talk to? Yes. Yes, that's undoubtedly true, and you were recommended to me. A woman recommended you. I probably wouldn't have listened to her. I wouldn't necessarily have taken her advice on something like mental health. But then I realised where I'd heard of you. I realised the psychiatrist she was recommending was the one who had campaigned so vigorously and publicly against managed care. And I thought, what are the chances of that? Chapter 2. I'm feeling like I'm getting scathingly burnt, so the Mummy has to move her assets out of the sun. Sorry for the interruptions, people of Earth. Let's just hold on to you a bit here. We're going to go walkies inside the kitchen, I think. I think the birds should be alright because they've got shade over their cages, but the mama has none. The mama has none. Disappointing. I wanted to read to you from the garden.